Sue Jackson from Phillips County.
Ann Williams from Rooks County.
Colleen from Webster County. Yes. Yeah. Just a moment. We have Marla Everett Seaver, and she is the county appointee from Mitchell County. You're looking in the chat. Patty, if we've missed any county appointee introductions, will you please unmute yourself and speak up? Oh, Melissa Nesh is the Barton County appointee. She is also an executive board member. She is not with us today, but she is joining us online. Go ahead, Mary Beth.
Madam Chairperson, this is Patty Collins. Barb Langston, Republic County appointee, is on the online meeting.
Thank you, Patty. So for your knowledge, we've got manual ballot count over here. There are also ballots that came in through the mail or faxed in. They're delivering the vote to Mary Beth. Mary Beth is entering them manually into the slide that you see here that shows the ballot. And for those of you who are online, you can see that as well.
One more ballot. Our consent agenda had 87 yes, 0 no, and 0 abstentions.
Okay, we are ready to move on to the approval of the May 2020 business meeting minutes. Those should be in the packet. That's the gray ballot. The minutes are in gray, the ballot is gray. Yes.
Danielle Wells from Calco. I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Wait a second.
Madam Chairperson, Trustee Stockton, I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? You raise your right hand, that helps out. Thank you. All opposed? While the votes are being tallied, I'm going to vote on the purple or lavender document next. That is for the executive board ballot. We have 2 people send in nominees. Anyone who is eligible is certainly able to self-nominate when we move on to that section. We do have an opening for a county appointee, if any of you present would like to self-nominate. Any county? The executive board meets monthly. Normally, we meet around the system. The location would vary. This year, because it's just a lot easier, we can spread out the meeting in Great Bend until the executive board deems it safe to move around the system again. The mileage is reimbursed and a luncheon meal is provided.
Madam Chairperson, this is Patty
Kansas
Collins.
statute and the CKLS bylaws delegate from the full system board to the executive board the day-to-day running of the system.
Madam Chairperson, this is Patty Collins. I have a self-nomination in the chat.
Are you guys hearing Patty?
There's a self-nomination in the chat. Hold on. Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, Becky Rogowski of
Roger
Ellis
Housen,
County.
the Ellis County representative, says she will self-nominate. So on your ballots, under other, you would write in Becky. I'll spell her last name, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, Becky. It's ROGOWSKI. She is the Ellis County representative. And I said it correctly. Thank you. It was correct. So because there has been a self-nomination from the floor, those people who are attending online, you've probably already submitted your ballots. We have, therefore, we will, so what we have to do is we have to give them an opportunity to vote by show of hands or by writing in the chat for the write-in nominee. Yes. Are those ready? Sure. Yes. Steve Arthur and Kathy Bowles are both running for one position. That is the position that represents small and medium libraries. And Becky Rogowski is running for the open county appointee position. And so where it says choose one, you would choose one between Steve Arthur, Kathy Bowles, and then you would indicate if you're for, against, or if you're abstaining for Becky Rogowski. Well, thank you for that correction.
not on the top two here. Got the two names already? Madam Chairperson, for the CKLS 2020 contract, 86 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Okay, let's begin the director's report, please. Okay, yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll move on to that after the director's report. Carol, yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Steve got an email and forwarded it to me. It was some answers to questions that we had about Senate Bill 13. And so I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. I had a little practice run. I explained it to the executive board just a bit ago. Let me find that information here. So I've been reporting on the Kansas Library listserv about Senate Bill 2013. I am the head of the Governmental Affairs Committee for the Kansas Library Association. And Senate Bill 13 is known as the Transparency and Taxation Bill. So Senate Bill 13 and the information that we got yesterday afternoon necessitates some changes in the CKLS budget timeline, and it will necessitate a bylaws change. And I'm going to try to explain those things. One of the most important things to know about Senate Bill 13 is that they're establishing what they call the revenue neutral rate. For this year, the revenue neutral rate will be established by June 13th, and it will be published. So we will know as a multi-county taxing entity what our revenue neutral rate in 16 counties is by the middle of June. The bill also requires that a revenue neutral rate hearing be held if you're increasing the budget or if there's the slightest chance of an increase in the total dollars taxed because of valuation. So normally what we do is we start working on the budget in January. We work with the executive board, we bring it before the librarians, and the county appointees and the school librarians are all kept in the loop through the listserv. They receive all the information that everyone else receives, especially about the budget. We're very transparent about our workings on the budget. And so then the executive board, after we've vetted it with librarians, then the executive board will give it their stamp of approval. They're not approving the budget, they're just approving that it be passed on to the full system board. The full system board then at the annual May business meeting, like today, would approve the budget. The budget that was always approved in May was sort of a proposed and tentative budget based on what happens in the budget hearing and the property valuations. We would normally, middle of June at the latest, get our budget hearing notifications published in the largest newspaper in each of the 16 taxing counties, and we would hold a budget hearing in early August. And then the property valuations would come in the fall, and we would have a pretty good idea about what our budget would be. The budget is never final until the actual dollars do come in, because there may be delinquent payment or payments that aren't made, or delinquent payments come in. But we have a good idea because we work with the counties to find out what the delinquent rate is and what they estimate property valuations are going to be. So that's what we normally do. And normally at this meeting, you would approve the budget. Senate Bill 13 changes that timeline. The revenue neutral rate hearing has to be held between August 20th and September 20th. The the revenue neutral rate hearing must be held before the budget hearing. And the budget cannot be approved before the revenue neutral rate. If the budget is approved before the revenue neutral rate hearing, and there's a drastic change in property valuations, they go up, we don't get money beyond what the revenue neutral rate established the previous year sets. This year, we propose to reduce our budget, but to err on the side of caution, we will hold a revenue neutral rate. What we found out, we had a bunch of questions. Mary Beth last week attended the municipal budgets workshop, and that is from the Kansas Department of Municipal Services and Council Services. Steve and I are attending the same workshop tomorrow, and we had a list of questions. Luckily, we received the communication yesterday afternoon that answered most of the questions, not all, but most. What we know now is that the revenue neutral rate hearing can be held in conjunction with the budget hearing, but the revenue neutral rate hearing must precede the budget hearing. What we still don't know, and I hope to find out tomorrow, is how that plays out. Can that hearing be held online? Can we hold one hearing for all 16 of the taxing counties? Or must that hearing be held face-to-face? And do we have to hold a hearing in every single one of the counties? Prior to Senate Bill 13, we had one budget hearing. It was published in all of the newspapers, and that was it. So we need a little bit more information on the logistics of this. Right now, I've set a tentative date for the revenue neutral rate hearing and the budget hearing the morning of our normally scheduled September executive board meeting. If that can be online and it can be held in one location, we will update you as soon as possible on that information and publish that date as well to you. If it can be held online, we'll get that information out as well. So that will be Wednesday, September 15th from 10:30 to 11:30. We will hold the revenue neutral rate hearing, followed by the budget hearing. At 11:30, we will recess, well, we'll go to lunch, and then at 1 p.m., we'll hold our regular executive board meeting at that time. Now, again, these dates carry the caveat is if we don't know if we can hold one online hearing or one face-to-face hearing. Senate Bill 13 also requires us to make a change in the bylaws. Bylaws may be amended by a 2/3 vote of the qualified representatives present at an assembly of the full system board or at a special meeting called by the director or the executive board chair. Notification of a change in bylaws must be presented to the voting representatives at least 14 days prior to the meeting at which the vote is to be taken. So depending on what kind of meeting we can have is what's going to make a difference to how the voting representatives that we have on file receive ballots for the bylaws amendment. The reason that we have to make this change to the bylaws is our current bylaws state that the budget will be approved at the May annual meeting. The May annual meeting was established to work with the old budgetary timeline. I don't know yet if we can make a simple change that says that it will be approved, the budget will be approved at the annual business meeting, or if we'll need to include a month, and I'll be finding that out before the end of this month. And because we're making the bylaws change this year mandatory, it's also a good time for us to change our bylaws to a more gender neutral language. We can call a special meeting, either I or the chair, in conjunction with the September or October regularly scheduled executive board meeting. We would prefer face-to-face, but if it's online, we can do that as well. It makes for a long day if we hold the hearings with more meetings in September, but it does get all of the business taken care of at one time. So depending on what we hear is what we'll be able to push out to you and especially to the voting representatives regarding Senate Bill 13. We will be talking about Senate Bill 13 at Trustee Training this summer, and we're probably just going to do a short informational video about it, just to answer frequently asked questions, because what Senate Bill 13 also does is it makes two changes that directly impact libraries. Before Senate Bill 13 was approved and signed into legislation, there was a budgetary cap on cities, and the library budget was pulled out of the city budget before that cap was calculated. After the cap was calculated, then the library budget was put back into the city budget. The library budget did not affect the cap. Remember, I said that the budget revenue neutral rate will be established by June 13th of this year. That will be for the next fiscal year for 2022. When they calculate the budget, the revenue neutral rate, library budgets go back in to the city budget. They're not pulled out and held out separately. So you need to be aware of that. There's also discrepancy in the language about who is the governing authority of the library. I have not heard of it yet in CKLS, but I want to make you aware of it. It is happening in the Northeast Kansas library system. Senate Bill 13 is vague on who is the budget authority and the governing authority for the libraries. Kansas statute 12-1220 et al. Are very clear that the library board is the governing authority of the library. So there's contradiction there. If your city believes that they do not have to accept the budget the library board presents, and they say, this is a great way to save money, we're going to drop the library budget, please contact me right away, because I'll be working with you very closely on that. We don't really have time to have an attorney general opinion on it this year, but we want to be on top of it. Most of you should present your budgets in June, and so you'll need to let me know right away so we can work on that. We have some libraries whose budget comes straight out of the general fund, and there's not a separate mill levy on the library, and this could happen to you as well. And it's important that you know that and that you're prepared for that. When we publish the little frequently asked questions about libraries and Senate Bill 13 video, watch it, have your board watch it, contact us with any questions so that we can help you. We can help you learn how to visit with your city about this. On June 7th, I'm presenting the budget to the Great Bend City Council, and at this point, I know they're going to have a lot of questions about budget as well. That's why I'm educating myself and for you all as well. So that's Senate Bill 13. Like I said, at Trustee Training in June, we're going to be talking about this among other things. The rest of my stuff is great. So I'll be sending some documents out about Senate Bill 13. There's a handy dandy infographic that makes the whole situation just ever so slightly clearer. Not a lot, but just a bit. It's okay. But like I said, it's going to require some changes by us, and we don't yet know if, well, what we do know, I've heard from all of the legislators working on this House Finance Committee, is that they know they're going to revisit this bill and rework it in a lot of ways next year, because it has a lot of discrepancies, not just about who's the governing authority of the library board, lots of other discrepancies as well. So this isn't the last of it, but we will do more. Let me find. Okay. Did you read through the budget narrative and did you understand it? I tried to be very clear and transparent about what we're talking about here to make it understandable. So I'm going to go on and talk about CKLS highlights from January 2020 to May of this year. So we haven't seen most of you, and we know you've been busy, but we have as well. We worked remotely from March 16th to May 29th. We instituted at that time weekly directors meetings. We provided update and current findings. We also weekly called what we call health and wellness check phone calls to librarians during this time period because not everybody has internet at home. Some librarians had to go into the library to use internet to attend the weekly directors meetings. We provided guidance for closing your library safely, with the exception of 3 member public libraries that we know of. Library staff members remained employed and received pay during that time. CKLS followed library trends and researched ways to implement best practices at the member library level. We talked about best practices during the global pandemic. We provided ongoing guidance, and we still are, about quarantining library materials, and we've updated that through the years. We've learned more. We were leading libraries across the state in the information we provided about COVID precautions and procedures. We provided each system library with 1 gallon of liquid hand sanitizer and concentrate disinfectant solution and cleaning supplies at a time when they could not be had. This was your CKLS staff members calling on the phone. And somebody called and we found out that the distillery, the whiskey distillery in Dodge, was making hand sanitizer. Andy loaded up. I wanted him in a full chem suit, but he went off to Dodge and he got the disinfectant for each of you. Joy was instrumental in working with a local to Great Bend national company that makes cleaning supplies, and they provided those to you as well. This came out of our general operating fund that was at no cost to libraries. No other system did that. We put system level CARES money into providing e-content to Hoopla for libraries patrons. The CKLS board voted to put $20,000 additional dollars into e-content. We provided daily information through the Safe at Home order on our Facebook pages and through our Google groups. And the assistant director updated the opened, closed, curbside, limited visit only, whatever your status was, of all member libraries on the CKLS website and the statewide tracker into the Courier when they started. We completed the strategic plan approved by the executive committee last December. We started our meetings face-to-face. Our last one was the Wednesday before the Safe at Home started. We then had to switch gears and figure out how to implement that procedure, that planning procedure, in an online environment where not everyone had cameras. And how were we going to make sure that every person had a voice in that? We attended a lot of library board meetings remotely and in person, multiple times at McCracken, Kensington, multiple times at Lincoln, Jewel, multiple times at Delphus, Agra, multiple times in Glen Elder, Bison, Scandia, Concordia, Ellenwood, Russell, Randolph, Decker and Clyde, Ray Hobson and Republic, Hayes, Great Bend, Gypsum, Phillipsburg, Kannapolis, Lebanon, Fort Library and Beloit, Otis, Osborne, Boisington, Plainville, and Copper City. We continue to facilitate online board meetings in some communities. CKLS presented 47 training events with over 1,000 19 librarians in attendance at those events. We switched gears and presented 4 online trustee training events with 230 trustees in attendance. We scrambled and provided a completely online annual full system board meeting in May. We learned a great deal at that meeting, and we've implemented those changes here. We presented Library Ethics 101 and from dysfunctional to functional, moving library boards to the next level at a national conference. We presented the same to the Heartland Library System in Illinois. We presented a condensed version of library ethics as library training at the Great Bend Public Library. And you can request that CKLS consultants come do training at your library. It's one of your trustee training options. We presented accessible to all techniques for creating user-friendly presentations with the National Network of Medical Libraries Tech Coordinator, Margie Shepherd. The CKLS IT manager and department, which is just Andy, completed 160 and 440 individual sessions remoting into library visits and 90 in-person library visits in 2020. Andy was the first person who hit the road because when libraries were opening, computers hadn't been updated, there were problems. Andy facilitated 85 Zoom library board meetings. Through Pathfinder Interlibrary Loan, Pathfinder Libraries shared 29,509 items last year, and that's being closed for several months. 72 items were requested for interlibrary loan, 85 items for interlibrary loan, 355 out-of-state interlibrary loan requests came to CKLS libraries, and CKLS facilitates that for you. We were one of the few states who were lending. A lot of libraries weren't lending across the country. We provided new librarian training to Jamestown, Jewel, Glenelder, Baroque, McCracken, Bison, and Lincoln because those were all new librarians during the pandemic. And they still needed to be trained. They needed to know how to work. We did remote training and on-site training as we were able. New librarian training, if you've been here for a while, it looks a lot different than when you first got here. We provide training on general librarianship and orientation to the system and the library world in Kansas. We provide training on interlibrary loan, on library wear, youth services programming, on purchasing through Ingram, on copy cataloging, and on Pathfinder Central. A lot of the time, this new librarian training necessitates a follow-up, usually in person. Some librarians were trained in person just before the stay-at-home order. They never got to put into practice what they learned, and so they needed new training when they came back to work. Outreach Services started offering binge box collections of DVDs. The school library consultant served her school librarians and as well. We researched trends and best practices for operating school libraries during the pandemic, for sharing books with students in libraries where the schoolhouse library collection had been closed, where students were allowed to come into libraries but not touch books. So it was very different for them. She shared the requirements associated with the new school library service allotment. With each member district library, we fielded a lot of questions about that and still are. She created support for online teaching and learning during the Safe at Home orders, LibGuide, which is regularly accessed by school librarians. In technical services, the acquisitions manager, that's our Missy, trained 13 libraries to use Ingram Library Services for purchasing. Liz trained 6 librarians on copy cataloging, and CKLS imported 10,143 catalog records from OCLC. And now remember, we were closed for a number of months there. In technology, we added Aspen as an enhancement to the patron side of our library system to improve the user experience. During the stay-at-home order, we offered an online library card application so that users could access e-content without barriers while libraries were closed. Hoopla offered bonus borrows, Swank movie pictures, who holds the movie license for CKLS libraries, extended to all public libraries, movie license through 2022 at no cost due to COVID-19. And they offered a list of 100 titles for parking lot showing. The Youth Services Department provided links to online programming and activities through their Facebook page 3 times a week, starting in April of 2020. Because we had libraries who wanted to meet the story time standard for this year, so that they would get all of their money, but they didn't know what to do. And so they were able to share it directly from the Youth Services Facebook page. The Youth Services consultant Patty presented a special How Will We Do Summer Library 2020 Zoom meeting. She presented the 2020 Summer Library Program Workshop in person on May 3rd. It received the highest evaluation from attendees in more than 10 years of Summer Library Program workshops, but that was the last face-to-face workshop for 2020. Virtually, Patty and Diane presented How to Tame Your Manual Summer Library Program 2021 at a KLA virtual conference. And they set up a lab in a space that formerly housed books by mail and rotating books. The lab, you can come and visit it now, just call and make an appointment. It holds various STEAM and storytelling kits from the collection. We have die press machines, a laminator, and you can borrow items from the collection. So you normally don't get a report like this from us, but I thought that this year it was important to know that we've been a little bit busy too. But the most important work we've done, and you can tell from what I just read, has been to support you to make your libraries awesome. And you did a fantastic job last year. You need to recognize that and congratulate yourselves on it. It was difficult. You can clap. Yes. Would you stand, please? We have standing for nomination Kathy Bowles. She is the library director at Copper City. Okay, thank you, Kathy. We also have Steve Arthur, and he is the library director at the Ellis Public Library. And then, as a self-nominee for the open county appointee position, we have Becky Roach.
And Madam Chair, we also have a write-in nomination. Linda Kenyon from Otis Community Library nominated Rush County appointee Catherine George. Do we need to have Catherine George accept that nomination?
We should.
Okay, I believe she's here. Catherine George, would you accept the nomination to run as a county appointee?
Madam Chair, Catherine George responds via chat. Yes, I accept the nomination.
So go ahead and write in Catherine George, A-T-H-A-R-Y-N, George, G-E-O-R-G-E, as a write-in county appointee. And she is from Rush County. And I'll spell Becky's name one more time for you. Remember, she is the Ellis County appointee. Her last name is spelled R-O-W-G-O-W-S-K-I. Did I spell that correctly? Okay, just a moment, I'll scroll back and see if I can find it. Patty, in chat, will you put Becky's spelling of her name so I can just read it off? Oh, Mary Beth is too. Here it is, okay. R-O-W, no, it's R-O-G-O-W-S-K-I. Yes, both of those are county appointees.
Question? Joanne?
Lana Redding from Smith Center. I'm not sure this is the appropriate time, but Gail, you deserve a Purple Heart. Because during this whole time that none of us knew what to do, you were helping us know what to do. And you were, I don't think you slept. I think you were on the internet 24/7 trying to find out what we needed to do. And there were emails coming out on CanLib from other library systems that had no disinfectant, that didn't have any idea what to do. And I was answering them back and saying, CKLS. Because we knew ahead of time what nobody else knew. And you and your staff and your executive board did a wonderful job.
Madam Chair, I had a few questions on the ballot. So if you look at your purple ballot, there is a section that says member at large, and it has Steve Arthur and Kathy Bull. And then there's another section that says county appointee, and that's where our two write-ins, Becky Rogowski and Catherine George. Becky is for Ellis County, and Catherine is from Rush County. That's the position there. So there are two separate positions on the board. You would vote for one for the member at large.
And we do have two open county appointee positions.
So
they could vote for both of those. We can have up to 14
open
members.
county appointee positions, and there's two write-in candidates. So you can choose to vote for both, one or the other, or none. Does that make sense to everybody?
We've just heard from Becky. There is a rotation just west of Hayes. She said, we are taking cover in Ellis County. I'm leaving my spring to get my preschool at the center. I direct into a safe place. We need to entertain a motion. Vote on the nominees to the executive board. Here we go.
Therese from Lebanon. I move that we nominate the
appointees from the executive board. I move that we appoint the nominees for the executive board.
Daniel Wells at Palco. I second the motion to vote for nominees.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Patty, will you, for our online attendees, please read to them, they've already mailed in their votes, and at that time there were no county representatives. Will you please make sure that they can see the slide or put into chat who those county appointees are, and we'll need to collect a vote from them. For the county appointees, they can vote for, we have open positions. They could vote for both. They could vote a slate or individually, yes, no, abstain.
Madam Chair, this is Patty. I will make certain that
If you've finished your voting, the next ballot will be blue. We're voting on the system plan. Patty is making a poll for the voting representatives only online. Blue and green and pink.
Madam Chair, this is Patty Collins. Madam Chair, this is Patty Collins.
Madam Chair. This is Patty Collins with CKLS. I am monitoring the chat. I have a member on the chat who is the Republic County representative as well as a librarian. And so I need an official additional vote for her. They can only vote once on the poll.
Is she nominating, self-nominating?
No, I need to have her vote twice, so I need someone to actually do a written vote for her.
Yes, of course you do. Thank you.
Patty, did you see Marla's message in chat? Did you see Marla's message in chat? Liz, has the clipboard for signing for the afternoon meeting started somewhere? Executive board meetings are first.
Madam Chair, I have the results for the executive board nominees. 1 abstention. Steve Arthur, 48. Kathy Bowles, 41 for the member at large. And for the county appointee positions, Becky Rogowski, 89. Catherine George, 89.
Congratulations. I will be in contact with you very shortly, not tomorrow, not Monday. And I will get with you and we will receive a full orientation to the board. And I will give you a packet and put you up to speed. And you'll have a meeting scheduled for the rest of the year. Congratulations. Okay, we'll move on to the discussion of the vote for the 2022 system plan. Is there any discussion? Do you have a motion?
Wells, Palco. I make a motion that we vote on the system plan and cease discussion.
And do we have a second? A motion and a second, and a motion to cease discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passed. Take the vote. Yes. The next ballot is green. That is the ballot for the system proposed tentative 2022 ballot budget, sorry. Just so you know, Russell County right now is getting severe wind and hail. We have someone monitoring the weather for our current location. Should we need to move to safety, you'll be instructed on how to do that in an orderly fashion. Should that happen at that time, you can take all of your belongings with you. No. It is moving in a northeasterly direction. Going as fast as we can. Almost done. The next ballot is green, and after that, it's the last ballot, which is pink, and that is for the ballot waiver. And I do have to read that out loud. It's,
Madam Chair, I have the voting results for the system plan. Oh, Mary Beth Schaefer, CKLS, sorry. 84 yes, 4 no, and 1 abstention.
Okay, that's on the agenda. Discussion and vote on the proposed 2022 system budget. Do we have a motion?
Brett Schwartz, I move that we discuss the proposed 2022 budget.
Okay, is there any discussion or are we ready to vote?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we vote on the 2022 system budget. Point of order. We have a previous motion on the floor.
The motion was to discuss. Didn't get seconded.
I second.
So we had a motion to discuss. There was no other motion and no other discussion brought forward, so we now have a motion, so that motion dies. We have a motion to vote and a second. To vote, all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Everyone wants to vote, that is on the green sheet. The next ballot will be pink. It is for the consent agenda. I'm sorry, that is for the gap waiver. We're not starting all over again.
Chair, Mary Beth Schaefer, I have the results from the proposed budget ballot. 80 yes, 5 no, and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the resolution for the gap waiver. You all have that in your packet, it is the pink form. Because you have it in your packet and you see it ahead of time, we're going to go ahead and we need a motion to vote on the gap waiver. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. Please vote on the pink sheet.
because of the weather, I think we're going to forego prizes. We have that information here, and we will draw prizes at the system on Monday, and we will get those out to the prize winners. And that will allow us to leave a little bit early. After this last bonus tally, Sherry will move to adjourn the meeting. I would request that you please up after yourself, pick up after yourself, and that way the CKLS staff can get out of here faster as well.
There's a cold bottle of water and a take-home snack on your way out the door. Please be safe. We want you all to arrive home. Watch the weather. Be careful.
What did you say? Do we have those votes?
It was, yep. Coming.
My apologies.
Of course, with the last one, there was a technical issue, but the vote for the gap waiver was 89 votes yes.
Thank you. 89 votes yes.
So 0 no's, 0 abstentions, 89 unanimous vote. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, with that information, our meeting has moved to adjourn. Our next meeting will be determined on what happens this summer. Drive safely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.